Hi, I'm Joel Mobley, and this is my S&P favorite subject presentation, and it is about attention. First off, what is attention? Attention is the process of info being prioritized over other info, and in other words, it is how the mind hones in on one stimulus over another. There are two types of attention, overt and covert. Overt is an attention shift from eye movement, whereas covert is going to be attention shift without eye movement. There's a quote from William James, the American father of psychology. Everyone knows what attention is. It's the taking possession by the mind in clear and vivid form of one out of what seems several simultaneously possible objects or trains of thought. Attentional capture. How is attention captured? And the answer is the traits of the stimulus. When observing an environment, the brain creates a saliency map. When a stimulus stands out from others in an environment, like this yellow butterfly, it is considered visually salient. However, it is possible to influence a viewer into ignoring a visually salient stimulus by priming them to search for another, which is what we're about to talk about in a second. Inattentional blindness. Perception doesn't mean awareness. In fact, we can often be convinced to ignore a stimulus that should stand out. In this experiment, subjects were asked to count how many times the ball was passed. Because of this, observers were primed to ignore the actual important stimulus, the man in the gorilla suit, and which should have drawn the most attention. Intention and purpose. So does this just mean that we are constantly being drawn from one stimulus to another without any meaning or rhyme or reason? Not at all. An important factor of attention is interest. Through eye movement, we can gauge a subject's interest and where their attention may be subject to. Observer knowledge. Does prior knowledge affect attention? For sure. Through experience, the human mind develops scene schemas. These are effectively expectations for what a scene is going to contain. For example, an image containing a horse standing on water would likely draw the observer's attention as it isn't an object that is typically contained in that scene. The length of attention. How long does attention last? And the answer is, it's been changing. In the early 2000s, median attention span was recorded at 2.5 minutes. In mid-2020s, attention span has dropped dramatically to 40 seconds. Some of the reasons for this is electronic devices, multitasking, and social media, all contributing to this steady decline. The impact of technology on attention. As we continue to rely on electronics more and more in our daily lives, we are steadily becoming more and more vulnerable to agents that would seek to capture our attention. Advertisers and social media apps continue to market to us with content that captures attention in ways that aren't naturally occurring to our world. Slowly, we're becoming more and more vulnerable to our lessening attention spans. Why do I care? I have ADHD. And being informed on how my brain structure influences my perception of the world and my ability to engage with it is important to me, as I personally struggle to maintain my attention. So it follows that I care about other people's attention and how I can help them, especially as the emerging digital landscape leaves the population with ever-increasing ADHD symptoms. My conclusion? At the heart of it all, attention matters to me because it's a choice. What you pay attention to is what you find valuable, and that care is being manipulated. Whether through clickbait titles or operant conditioning of short-form content, attention is becoming a product. And companies are taking advantage of that, and I find it important that we know why. My conclusion, if you've been paying attention, I hope that there's one thing that you can take away. Your attention is valuable, and I appreciate that you've given it to me. And I hope that you see the value in your attention too. Thank you.